Welcome back to Power and Politics. So, does our country really need another all-news channel? Is it more the merrier? Two people who are being described as the angriest men in TV think so. Quebecor President Pierre-Karl Péladeau and his Vice President of Development, Corey Teneycke, announced yesterday they're launching an all-news channel. But industry insiders are wondering if this network is really needed, if there's a big enough audience to keep them afloat, and will the coverage be fair and balanced? Here to debate that, we have political analyst and columnist for CBC.ca, Don Newman, and the newly appointed Vice President of Development of Quebecor Media and former CBC commentator, Corey Teneycke. Gents, good to see you. Corey, as I like to call you, love us and leave us. Corey Teneycke. Corey, you say we are taking on smug, condescending, irrelevant journalism and political correctness. What is the mandate of the new channel?
What is the mandate? Well, first and foremost, we're going to try not to be boring, Evan. We want to actually try to engage Canadians, get more people watching news who aren't watching news today, steal some eyeballs back from American channels, which unfortunately a lot of Canadians are watching, and simply spark a bigger debate across the country. Which is all welcome. But I want to show you a clip from you on this show, when you were always welcome on this show. Here's what Corey had to say about his own take. Here's Corey. But viewers, I am a conservative. I used to be a spokesman for Prime Minister Harper. I give money to the Conservative Party. I work on their election campaigns. I'm a conservative. And so what I'm going to say to you today, and what I say to you almost every day, you know, it's my professional opinion of politics, but it's also coming from a conservative, and apply whatever filter you want. Well, I guess my question is this really competition? I mean, we're journalists. We give it voice, fair voice. You're always welcome to come on the show, as you know that. You say you're a conservative, so are you really just one platform? We know where you come from, but it's not real journalism, Corey. It's kind of, you're a propagandist to a certain extent, not a real journalist. That's my question. Well, it's quite the leading question there, Evan. No, because you admit that openly. That's of course, I'm a conservative in the same way that Ivan Fakan, the president of CTV News, is a liberal. He gives tens of thousands, even more money than Frank Graves to the Liberal Party, and raises millions. But he also gives to, but he does give to the Conservatives too, right? Ivan Fakan raised millions of dollars for Liberals. He gives to all Pauls.
Ivan is in broadcasting. He's always been in broadcasting. He may take an interest in politics, and that's his right. But he's a broadcaster. He's not a politician getting into broadcasting to put out a political message, which is essentially what you're doing.
If you're going to do a setup, and let me actually answer the question. There are people who are in journalism who go into politics. There are people who go from politics into the media. Fakan's political. He's liberal. Paul Sparks, executive VP at CTV, used to, like me, be a director in the Prime Minister's office. I don't see any problem with it. I don't think it's an issue. I'm not a journalist presenting news stories. I'm somebody who is an executive for a media company, and viewers will see what we have to offer, and they'll decide whether they like it or not. Before I bring in Don, I just want to say, the reason I think it's very important is just because the question here is, will it represent all sides? Because, you know, it is supposed to be an all-news channel, and, you know, the more people in the party, the better. But I guess my question is, given what you've told me, you've been very open about it, I'm not trying to expose a hidden agenda, how do we know that you will fairly portray all sides, or is it just going to be to promote a conservative cause? Well, the biggest problem, I think, with much of what's on this show and on other shows like it on cable news in Canada, is it's play fighting. Too often, the people who are on actually aren't strong enough. They probably shouldn't be on TV. They're either on talking points or they're filing the edges off the message. That's what makes it boring. What makes it interesting to watch is to have a debate that's lively, that's engaging, that's real, that is often on topics that are not obsessions of the gallery around us here, but a broader range of issues. So I think that's what makes it good. But if it's just one perspective, nobody's going to watch. But it's not all. I mean, is that a fair characterization? I mean, you've been on this show. I mean, Don, is that a fair perspective? It seems to me that all perspectives have got a shot here.
Oh, sure they do. And you know, just personally, 2 points. Paul Sparks is basically a lobbyist. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but he's not running the news operation at CTV. So he's and you're going to be in charge of the news operation of this channel. You're going to be the boss and in charge of it. Paul may like to have that job, but Paul doesn't have that job at CTV.
Yes, but the head of BNN does, right? So, you know, the head of the Liberal Party advertising consortium for 2 elections campaigns is also the general manager of BNN. So, look, Don, you have a problem with me being here because I'm a conservative.
I have no problem with you being here. If I had a problem with you being here, I wouldn't be here with you.
No, well, in terms of the position, it's only an issue if it's conservative.
No, that's just not true. That is just absolutely not true. What I said the other day, and I also talked about the Liberals and the NDP getting together in the same column, is I think that it's more divisive. I think that the kind of thing that we're seeing in the United States and the gridlock in the United States is generated by not just Fox News, but a whole range of people like Rush Limbaugh and others, and their politics is basically gridlocked. And it's gridlocked because it is divisive, and your point is a good one, Evan, because there are people who only push one side and are pretty good at pushing it. That creates a lot of the gridlock. It's going to be tough, I'll tell you, though, also, for the Prime Minister and for the people trying to run a conservative government. When you stir up the red meat base and suddenly they're saying there's people on Corey's channel who saying we should be doing this, and the Prime Minister saying, well, actually, we have to take a more moderate position, you're going to find that the Prime Minister may be wishing you well now. He may be wondering what he's hoped for later. The other thing is, I want to just follow what you said to Evan. You said it's got to be real or people won't watch. So does that mean you are actually going to have people with different opinions than your conservative commentators, so that, and will there be an equal number, so that it will be real? Or are you going to have, as basically we see on Fox News, either conservative commentators agreeing with each other, or basically it's like a phone-in show where the audience is the program and they all agree with the commentator and that's why they get on?
Well, I'd be surprised if you actually watched much programming of this sort. But look, Don, it's not interesting television if there isn't debate, if it isn't engaging, if it isn't real. The problem, it's not a question of whether a number of different views are represented on shows like this. They are. It's just they're represented in a boring way. Is this my assessment? No. This is the assessment of people who are not watching. The ratings are very low. Canadian cable news ratings are much lower than they are in the United States.
Well, hold on. You're saying by comparative standards, by ratings for all cable news?
If you're saying cable news ratings on a per capita basis in Canada versus the United States, the audience is much larger in the U.S. watching cable news than here.
That's not true. For CNN, for MSNBC, they're in fact, I think we do better than those guys per capita, just for the record. But I know Fox does well, and this is the question here. Fox News does incredibly well, and there's no denying it. And Don, you wrote a column saying that the last thing we need is another channel, Fox News North, as it's been called. But why is that? Why not have a more robust debate where, guys like Corey and his channel may be on, and CBC's got a position, and CTV. What is wrong with opening up the spectrum and having more debate?
There's nothing wrong with opening up the spectrum, and there's nothing wrong with having more news channels. In fact, as a news person, I think the more news channels, the more news jobs, and I'd say that's really, really good. On the other hand, I think it's wrong and divisive, and that's really what I was talking about in the column, and that is to have channels that basically focus on one opinion. And basically, watching what you and Mr. Palladone were saying in Toronto the other day, that's what you're going to be doing.
Don, this is the very definition of prejudice. Without having broadcast a single minute of television, you've already decided what it is and determined a position. That's fine. That's your opinion. You don't have to watch. But I actually think that some division is not a bad thing if it is sparking debate in the country. We're a democracy. Actually having people debate and disagree and
it's good. Yeah.